Hawaiian trade winds, sky of endless blue, moonlight on the ocean, good food, good wine, and you.
Hawaiian stuff. Oh, great chefs, Hawaiian stuff.
Aloha, and welcome to Great Chefs of Hawaii. Come join us for a taste of paradise as the island's finest chefs explore Pacific Rim cuisine. This time from Maui, David Paul Johnson. From Oahu, George Mavrothalacides. And from Lanai, Philippe Padovani.
One of the most popular restaurants in buzzing Lahaina is David Paul Johnson's Lahaina Grill. He came to the islands in 1978 and opened a catering company on Oahu, then moved to Maui to open his own operation in 1988. His first course headlines a famed vegetable, caramelized Maui onion soup.
These are the Maui onions we use, and traditionally a Maui onion is more of a saucer shape rather than a large round onion. We begin by peeling the onions. The skin is very thin, so you almost have to take a layer of meat to get all the skin off. And then we're going to slice them very fine. In order to avoid getting a large chunk of onion, we cut it in like this. Maui onion is known for its sweetness, which is ideal for this dish. Recipe calls for some brown sugar. We're going to add brown sugar, some salt and pepper to our onions. This helps the caramelization process. We're going to add some butter to a very hot pan. Now we're going to babysit these for a few minutes. This you can do over really high heat. You want to start releasing the sugar that's in the onions as well. I love the smell of these onions. We're going to let them caramelize and we'll stir them again. And then we're going to deglaze them. So this process takes about 5 to 10 minutes. The addition of the sugar helps the caramelization process, which keeps the onion from getting overcooked. Often when you eat onion soup, the onions are completely disappeared. This keeps the onions what we call al dente. You can see that they're already starting to caramelize. And if you let them sit for a little while longer, then they really start to build up that sugar and caramelize quicker. As this caramelizes, it loses some of its ability to continue to cook. It's starting to dry and you don't want it to burn, so I'm adding a little bit more butter to it, and that's going to release it from the pan. You don't want these to burn or they get really bitter. And I'm going to add just a little bit more. I don't know if you want to catch that on the camera, but I don't think it's got enough. We're going to deglaze with some sherry now. And what that is going to do is it's going to take the color from the bottom of the pan. And we're going to reduce the heat. We don't want to burn things. Now we can let this simmer for just a little while longer while it picks up a little bit more color.
The primary liquid is a rich chicken stock containing both port and white wine.
Okay. That's some of the port that is already in the stock is going into this. And we already have our stock. Most people know how to make a good chicken stock. And it's a little bit deeper in color because of the port that we added. We're going to bring this to a boil, increase the heat slightly, and we're going to stir it without scraping the bottom. Nice, deep, rich color. All the herbs and flavoring should basically be in the stock. The onions are what is going to make this soup as flavorful as it is. So I'm going to taste it at this point, and that's going to allow me to season it before I thicken it. Okay, needs just a little bit more salt and pepper. And we have a flour and water mixture, and we're just gently going to add a little bit of this while stirring. Now this just adds a slight shine to the soup without thickening it up like a roux will. And it, to me, represents more of a provincial style French onion soup rather than the classic with the clear, completely clear broth. So now we can reduce the heat and let it simmer for just a little while. And this is when it takes on most of its flavor and intensity at this point right here. All right, once the soup has developed the flavor and characteristics you're looking for with that beautiful shine, without scraping the bottom again, it's a nice 7-8 ounce portion. Use some sourdough croutons. These have been toasted in advance. And some shaved Reggiano.
At the time of this taping, the executive chef at La Mer, the upscale restaurant in the Halekulani Hotel, was George Mavrothalasites. He moved to Maui, but during his time at La Mer, elevated it to one of Honolulu's dining gems. He shows why with beef tenderloin, poached Pacific oyster, and Pinot Noir sauce.
I'm going to show you how to do a roast. How to tie a roast. And I use cold fat. Which is a very, very thin membrane. And finally, when you saute the cold fat, the fat is going to melt, and it's not too much fat on the recipe. When it's cooked, it's no more than 1 teaspoon of oil. So it's very acceptable. And I like that because, you know, the tenderloin is very lean. And the way you cook sometimes is a little bit flat on flavor. I like to add some flavor. So what I'm doing, I'm going to tie the beef with cold fat. And I show you how to do a roast. If you tie a roast, and if you start by here, and you tie like that, what is going to happen? You are going to put the blood or the juice from the meat in one way. So your roast is going to look like very small at the beginning and big at the end, which is not good because it's not going to cook evenly. So the best way to tie a roast is to start by the center. This is true for everything, veal, beef, lamb, venison, whatever. And you tie first the center. And now I go at the end.
The roast is tied at several more intervals before browning on top of the stove. The sauce is started by sweating sliced onion in a little water.
And I'm doing that until the onion becomes translucent. As soon as the onions are translucent, I start my first reduction of red wine. First reduction, this is very important. So I cover the onion with red wine, and I'm going to reduce 3 times. To reduce dry, first time. Second time, cover again, dry the second time. Third time, I put a little bit more wine and I reduce half. And I have my reduction with already here. This is what you get. It's a kind of caramel of red wine.
The reduced wine is strained and blended.
And to have some consistency, what I do, I put some steamed carrot inside.
Using carrot is an interesting departure from the usual addition of demi-glace or butter. The sauce is seasoned with salt, pepper, and a pinch of cayenne, then is strained. The browned roast is sliced into 4-ounce fillets.
And of course, at this time, the fillet is a little bit too rare, and I'm going to cook to the right temperature. So let's say we are going to cook the beef medium rare, okay?
Garnish includes blanched julienne of leek.
The filet mignon, garnish with a confit onion, of course. I keep the onion. After 3 reductions, they are confit with red wine. I decorate with warm poached oysters.
This is the reduced red wine sauce. Another sauce is a reduced white wine with Chervil added.
And I put white wine Chervil sauce on the top of the oyster. And that's all.
Philippe Padovani began his cooking career in his native France. 2 decades later, he visited Hawaii as a consultant and apparently took to paradise. Now executive chef at the fancy Manele Bay Hotel, he offers this unusual dessert, Hawaiian vintage gold-flecked chocolate fans with poha berry sauce.
Now we're going to make the kiawe honey Hawaiian vintage chocolate ganache. We have some cream heating up. We're going to infuse some vanilla beans inside. We have the chocolate, we have the kiawe honey. And add some kiawe honey to it. Creamy texture. This is an incredible honey. It grows on the Big Island, and when the bees take the flowers out of the kiawe honey trees, which gives this flavor to it. It's very special honey. We're going to let this come to a boil. And once it comes to a boil, we'll let it infuse for approximately 5 minutes. We'll turn off the gas.
The honey cream mixture is added to some melted Hawaiian vintage chocolate.
Just set aside the vanilla bean. We'll stir well.
After incorporation, butter is added.
Now we're going to be adding the butter. We'll just incorporate it in the ganache.
When the butter is incorporated, the ganache is poured onto a tray and chilled for several hours. Meanwhile, the poha berry sauce is started.
So we have the milk hot. We'll add a half vanilla bean inside the milk. We'll let this infuse for 5 to 10 minutes.
The sauce also includes egg yolks and sugar.
We'll just mixed up to a creamy texture. While the milk is boiling, we're going to pour it into the egg yolks and the sugar to make the poa sauce. Put it back on the stove to cook. Cook it over low heat till the foam comes off. When the foam is off, then your sauce is already cooked. Keep stirring.
The sauce is strained and cooled over ice.
Just chill. And then we're going to finish the poa berry sauce. So we're going to take
Poha berry is the Hawaiian term for Cape gooseberries.
Take the vanilla sauce, we pour it over the poa berries. Then we're going to take the blender to blend it for a few minutes. As you can see, the poa berries are really getting incorporated.
Chill the sauce until service. Final garnish are chocolate fans. Melted chocolate is combined with oil and spread on a marble surface to partially cool.
In the meanwhile, we're going to pipe some ganache, which we have made. Just nice and smooth. 5 or 6, you can put even up to 7.
Edible gold leaf adorns the
Okay.
chocolate fans.
So we just take the fans Just stick them on the ganache, Kiawe honey ganache dots. Sauce in the areas. Berry sauce. And here's your plate.
Great chefs, Hawaiian style. Great chefs, Hawaiian style.